Welcome, everybody, to Movies, Music, and Mayhem. I am your host, Rachel Silvestrini. Thank you for coming and hanging out with us. Today, I have a very special guest. I wanted to get him on for the Christmas episode, obviously. Unfortunately, could not reach out. It was mayhem. Obviously, it's Christmas time. Fuck it. So I figured, what better time to have him on, obviously, than Christmas, than halfway to Christmas, because we are 6 months away from Christmas Eve. Now, I know that doesn't mean anything because, you know, it's June, but fuck it. We're celebrating because we need some fucking happiness in our lives right now. So if everybody would join me in welcoming the great Alonso Duralde.
Hello.
Hello.
Well, tomorrow is Leon Day, which somebody on the internet came up with, and I just think we need to run with that.
I just love the name of Leon. Like it just in my brain, I just pull up like a British lion, just like chilling out, like having tea. Like my name is Leon, like under a tent in the.
It's funny when you Google Leon Day, you get some listings about, oh, it's halfway to Christmas and it's Noel spelled backwards and blah, blah, blah. But apparently there was also like a pro baseball player named Leon Day. So if Leon Day, the holiday, becomes a bigger deal, I suspect fans of Leon Day, the athlete, may take issue with that. Unless they take it as a day to celebrate him too. I don't know.
Great. Yeah, let's do it. Fuck it. Baseball and Christmas. What better?
There you go. This is as American as it gets.
Well, I mean, they did do that in Hook. They had the Santa series in Hook, if you remember.
I saw Hook once when it came out, and that was, what, 30 years ago?
I love that movie so much. It's the baseball game that he misses of his sons.
Oh, right,
in the very beginning. Okay. It's the Santa series.
Okay, Rachel, this is the question I love on the internet now. Is it great, or were you 8?
It can be both. It's fun.
Okay. I just want to throw that out there. I was already in my 20s when Hook came out, so I was well past the target demo for that movie.
That's fair, but I mean, I think that Peter Pan has like a spot in every person's heart. Like whether you're young and like want to be young forever, or when you're old and bitter, like, well, I am. You can look back and be like, God, I wish I could be a kid. And you know, it'd be great being 10 forever. That sounds awesome. Like. Hanging out with your friends, like literally, if my life could be a combination of Hook and Sandlot, I would be so excited.
If you could be 10 and drive, I think that would really be, you'd be onto something.
No, dude, that's what parents are for. You hop in the back of the station wagon, have them take you down to the mall. Like, yes,
I know. I just hate being relying on that. Relying upon the largesse of others.
That's true.
I'm the youngest of 7. There was a lot of competition for like parental attention in my house.
Oh, see, I'm middle of 3 daughters, and we all had like crazy schedules growing up. So it was very much like, okay, you've got this, you've got this, you've got this. Well, at one point they just figured out, I think they figured out very early that they should all just put us into, they should put all of us into softball.
There you go.
It's, while everybody has practices different days, it's at the same place. We know how to get there. It was literally like, as soon as we got to be like 10 or 11, we used to be able to walk to and from our house to the school to like go to practice and stuff. And like,
oh, wow.
That's when we knew we were big kids.
Now, that was softball girl, but were you ever a ballet girl or no?
I danced growing up. I remember my mom took me to go to a ballet class when I was like 6 or something, and it was like out of a Disney like movie. The instructor looked me up and down and went, "She'll never be a ballerina." And my mom was like, "Excuse me," and she was like, "Her hips are already spreading, and she's 8." Like, no, she's like. She doesn't have the frame to support a ballerina body. And I was like, whatever. Man. So I got into jazz and tap and hip hop and did that. And yeah.
Yes, that's the job we all dream of, crushing small children's dreams, I
mean, I think my mom was a little more insulted than I was, because I was like, whatever, I get to be here and dance. Like, this is fun.
I got my leotard. So
yeah. Try and take this tutu off me. I dare you. This is mine. Did you play sports growing up and stuff like that?
I liked to stay inside and watch television and read books. That was me. But my dad was always constantly trying to push this stuff on me. Bless his heart, he tried so hard because he grew up in Spain. He played soccer, he played rugby, and just was like, that was his whole jam. And I was so not having it. Like at 6, they stuck me on a soccer team. I got kicked off the team because during the first game I sat and drew in the dirt. Like that's how not into it I was. And then finally I get to high school. They made me do sports for the first couple of years, like every season. So I would of course avoid the team sports because that's where you're going to get into trouble. My incompetence would only hurt me if I did an individual sport. So I ran cross country, I swam, and I did like track. And then thank God 11th grade I joined the debate team, and we had tournaments away every weekend. So that was my way out of having to do sports anymore, because I've never been athletic, I've never particularly coordinated. I'm not a sport guy. Like that is not, there are, believe me, I know I'm a gay stereotype. I know a lot of gay dudes who are like all over college football and baseball and basketball, and they can tell you all the stuff. And I'm like, nope, that's for me, I checked the box under gay of like no sports. Thank you.
You're like, go sports ball. Yeah, I was kind of, I had both feet very firmly on either side of the fence. Like I was very much into sports. Like I picked things up really quickly. I understood them. I'm super competitive. I love the aspect of like strategies, but I was also like, if I wasn't on the field practicing or playing a game or something, I was literally avoiding homework and reading books in my room. Like I was that kid that was like asked for like one of those mining lights when I was like 7. I was like, you guys don't let me stay up late, and you guys don't buy me new batteries for my flashlight. So,
no, believe me, I was a reader, but I was also a terrible student. So I managed to get the best of both worlds there. I read a lot of comic books, just not in the actual texts.
Oh yeah, like I remember getting into a debate with my English teacher in my freshman year of high school because I can't remember what book we were reading. I think we were reading some samurai book, and it was so boring. It did not engage me. I couldn't relate. I was like, this guy is being played by Tom Cruise, and he's Asian. I don't understand what's going on right now. And so instead I just read another book, and my teacher's like, you need to read the class assigned book. I'm like, why? It's stupid. I'm reading. I'm like, I can break any book down for you that you need me to. Like, I'm analytical beyond all belief, but like this book is awful and I don't want to read it.
Yeah, I found out later that I complained so much about one of our assigned reading books in 9th grade that they actually dropped it the next year. I felt like,
my God,
I'd accomplished something. Yeah, Thornton Wilder's The Bridge of San Luis Rey.
Oh,
got it removed from the curriculum. So I was like, this is nonsense.
God bless you. Like that needs to be off the list. I actually, I used to not do busy work in my science classes because I didn't believe in busy work when I was in high school. It was like, look, that's to study. Like those are study tactics. If I need to study, I'll study however I need to. But like you making me do this to prove to you that I can study, like that's what tests are for. So I got into so much trouble my freshman year of high school, or my sophomore year of high school, with my science teacher, that my dad had to come in and talk to her. Now my dad was 6'2", but like Stallone 6'2".
Oh, right. Okay.
Like, because Stallone's like 5'6". So
I was going to say, Stallone, I don't know those two things, but I know what you mean.
Just take Stallone and just kind of, he was a big bodybuilding dude. He was a security guard. His security guard uniform looked like San Jose PD. So like he would come in before his shift and like talk to my teachers.
Oh, funny.
So my junior year, I had anatomy, and you have to color everything. And I'm like, I don't have fucking time for this. I'm taking a full course. I'm cheerleading. I'm working full time. Like I'm not gonna color. I'm not 5. So it finally got to the point she called me in, and we were having a student teacher conference, and my teacher from last year walked in. She goes, "Oh, are you talking to Rachel about her homework?" And she's like, "Yeah, don't bother. Just grade her on her tests. Avoid the talk with her father." I was like, yes, I have a reputation.
Well played. Well played.
I mean, it helped that I set the curve for those tests, so it wasn't like I'm just not doing the homework. I'm like, no, I understand this. My dad is a bodybuilder. My stepmom is an RN. Like, I understand the human body.
I don't know. I have such mixed feelings about the educational system, just because I feel like it. If anything, the more they kind of tried to push me to study the stuff I wasn't interested in, the more I kind of bore down and refused to do it, you know, and I was able to fake my way through a shocking amount of stuff, you know, and like, I mean, and college was the same deal. Like I barely went to class. I spent all my time working on the paper on campus and working at the radio station. And, you know, I mean, like I was 20th from the bottom of my graduating class, but I graduated, you know. I don't think I ever had a job interview that asked me what my GPA was. So it didn't matter. You know?
They don't care.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Nobody cares.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like to say I got a BS in BS. Like I had an AP English class my senior year, and we were supposed to write a comparative essay on the some essay on the influence of books and media, books on media, and like how it affects, you know, the way that we consume stories and stuff like that. So I literally turned in a paper that just said "See the Lion King." And my title was like Shakespeare's influence on society, see the Lion King. And she like called me in and she was like, no, explain this please. And I'm like, have you not seen the Lion King? And she's like, no. I'm like, great, you need to see the Lion King and then we can talk. Like literally,
did I not say see the Lion?
Follow directions, lady. Like, come on.
Yeah, our AP English teacher was older, and she had done her I think she had her master's thesis on Thomas Hardy. So it basically, once we got to the point where she would periodically let us pick our own book to review, as long as you chose something after 1950, you were pretty much guaranteed that she'd not read it. So like anytime that I was let loose on my own, be like, oh, here On the Road, Clockwork Orange, like anything contemporary, because I knew she would just have to take my word for it. And then like the suckers were writing about Tess of the D'Urbervilles, like, no, she knows that one.
Idiots.
Come on.
Yeah, I was the kid that slacked off, and I was in AP English, and I remember walking in that first day, and like, okay, so my high school was very, very like highly competitive academically, like graduating class. Like I grew up in the Bay Area. Like it's like, yeah. So like, I think when I graduated, the year that I graduated, we had the most kids accepted to Stanford and I want to say Yale from one graduating high school class in both of the school's history. Wow. Like it was insane. Like to say that I literally studied next to geniuses is not an exaggeration. But like I remember walking in and everybody looked at me like, you know, this is AP, right? And I'm like, don't worry about it. I'm like, I'm here to make this fun. Calm your tits. And so then when I turned in that essay and we had a talk about it, the next day we came in for block period and she was like, so everybody wrote really great essays. One of them stood out. And Rachel, do you want to explain your essay real quick? And I'm like, yeah. So I got up and did like a 5-minute presentation. She's like, so today we're going to watch The Lion King. And I just turned around to everyone and I was like, you're welcome. This is why I'm in your class.
Oh, God.
So we literally got to watch The Lion King for English. And then I got to lead a discussion on the next period on the influence of Shakespeare in modern day media. And it was phenomenal.
All right.
Yeah.
Had 10 Things I Hate About You come out yet? Was that on the menu? Or
say what?
Had 10 Things I Hate About You come out yet? Was that on the menu?
I believe so, yeah, because it was 2002 that happened. So we talked a lot. We did the whole like Romeo and Juliet breakdown and it was so much fun. But yeah, ever since that class, I got a lot of the students like respected me a little bit more because I'm shifty.
I mean, the real rook about all of this stuff is that, you know, like when you said the word genius, it kind of made me think about, like, I think that one of the worst things that ever happened to me was that I was like a gifted child. Like I could start reading really early, mainly because I had 6 older siblings. And so I was just in a hurry to get caught up with what was going on. But years later, I read some piece of advice where somebody said, like, never tell a child they're smart. Tell a child that they're a hard worker. And I was like, oh God, if somebody had done that to me when I was a kid, I might have actually gotten my crap together. But instead, they kept telling me I was smart. So I was like, well, then if I'm smart, I don't have to do a goddamn thing, do I?
Yeah, see, somebody once told me that I was clever, and I was like, that's the thing. That's what I'm going to bank on.
I'll take it.
I will debate my way out of anything. Yeah. Oh, I kind of miss high school just for that. just because like I loved all my teachers. All my like my dad went to the same high school that I did, so like I would walk in the first day of every year and just like kind of get a feel for if they had my dad or not, because they pull up and be like, Silvestrini, Craig's daughter, aren't you? Yes, sir.
I'm not only the youngest of 7, but I'm also the change of life baby, if you will. My oldest sister is 13 years older than me. So not only had we all gone to the same high school, but classmates of my oldest sister and oldest brother were my teachers. So that was weird because like some of them I remembered like, you know, coming to the house, you know, back in the day, and suddenly like, I had to start calling them Mr., you know.
Oh, I had there was a family who lived down the street from the house that I grew up in, and they were the Gundersons. The mother was like the teacher's aide in like the kindergarten school that I went to.
Right.
Her sons were about 7 to 9 years older than me, and they were gigantic. Like when I tell you they're Vikings, I mean like the biggest Viking you've ever seen in your life. Like their last name was Gunderson. Like they were giants. I was also a very tiny blonde child, and every Halloween they would torture me and scare the living daylights out of me. Like I couldn't even go around their corner, like to their house at Halloween. It was awful. So fast forward a few years, Scott is now my teacher at Lynbrook. And he walks in to like, cause like, it was very sad. Our English teacher had throat cancer, and she, you know, ended up with like, the voice, she ended up with like the microphone with like the little Marshall speaker on her side. And, it was just getting too bad for her to last the rest of the year. So Scott was going to come in, and came in early, and he walks in, and I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me? And like the whole class turns to me, and I'm like, oh, I said that out loud. So Scott comes out, and like, the first week goes by, and he like calls me to stay after school, and he's like, hey, I really need you to call me Mr. Gunderson. I'm like, I literally physically cannot do that because you are not your father. You are Scott.
Also,
like,
you owe me Halloween candy.
Also, fuck you, you bully, you jerk off. He was also like lovely at that point. Like it was one of those like he'd grown up, and he was very sweet and lovely and wonderful. Also, my best friend had like the giantest crush on him, and I was like, that's illegal. Please don't do that. But yeah, it was, oh God, high school was so weird.
Big Viking is a type. I get it, you know.
And the worst, like that was our mascot too. We were the Lynbrook Vikings.
All right then.
Yeah, it was just very copacetic. Everything fit off very nicely. Oh, we do have a question in the chat. What are some of your favorite books, Alonso?
Oh, golly. Let's see. What are my favorite books? Well, you know, speaking of high school, actually, one of the assigned readings that I did do was The Grapes of Wrath. I think is it's a hell of a page turner, and it's also like super great, like kind of, you know, progressive advocacy literature, which I'm a fan of. I've been trying to get more into James Baldwin lately. The stuff I've read by him, I really like. Giovanni's Room is amazing. Go Tell It on the Mountain. I need to start digging into some of the essays. Ways of White Folks is good. At the moment, I'm like in the middle of, I went through this long period of just not reading because of work and stuff. And then now at the moment, I'm in the middle of like 4 books, and I'm enjoying all of them, but like, it's hard to jump back and forth. But like, I'm reading the Mark Harris, Mike Nichols bio right now, which is great.
Okay.
And then do you know who Alison Bechtel is?
It's like the Bechtel test?
The Bechtel test, yes. Actually, came from a comic strip that she did. She used to do this great comic strip called Dykes to Watch Out For. She wrote, I see you have a Wicked shirt on. She wrote the graphic memoir Fun Home.
Oh my God.
That was the basis.
Show.
Yes, exactly. So that's who Alison Bechtel is. She has a new book called Secret of Superhuman Strength, which is about her sort of life history with exercise. And it's fascinating. And like, I'm a fan of her work going all the way back to her original comics and stuff. As mentioned, never been a sports guy, never been much of an exercise person. So like for me, reading this book is like reading a book about peanut brittle if you have like a nut allergy and no teeth. But I'm digging it. It's really, she's so interesting, and she ties things, but she makes things very personal, but then also kind of branches out into big things. Like she connects, you know, jogging to transcendentalism. Like it's really interesting.
Oh, she's one of those.
Yeah, I mean, she can get kind of academic, but not in a way that's insufferable. And then I'm reading this book called We All Laughed in Pleasure, the diaries of this guy named Lou Sullivan, who was kind of a pioneering trans man in the United States. And the diaries go from like the mid 60s to the late 80s. And over the course of this, like it goes from, living as a teenage girl in Milwaukee to being a trans gay man in San Francisco. In the early 1980s, and it's just fascinating and so first person to really kind of understand the journey that he went through, to kind of understand, to even find the words to describe who he was and what he wanted. It's an amazing book. I very highly recommend that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've only picked up a few bios, and it's very stereotypical of me, like the Anthony Kiedis autobiography, and Storm Large, just musical artists and stuff. I've never really like branched out too much, just because like my home is with fiction. I love it. I love disappearing into worlds. I love like really good stories. But one of the books that I've been reading over and over, like almost like my entire life, is the Immigrant series by Howard Fast.
Okay.
Which in studying, I was like like looking up Oscar winners and stuff, and I was like, oh, Howard Fast wrote Spartacus? That can't be the same guy. And I'm like, no, it is. Like, oh my God, that's so weird. But if you haven't read it, it is stunning. It's a historical fiction about the history of California and the US. And it starts like right around like the big the San Francisco earthquake of 09. Sorry, 1909. Different century. And it goes on from there, and it talks about like, prohibition and, the making of the giant ships for the world wars and the start of aviation. It goes into like the start of like the Bank of America after the earthquake, and everything that they do has like a very amazing like touch of historical fact, but then they just like cover it up with this flowery fiction. And it's so beautiful, and you get to love the characters and the families, and it's
historical epics are a lot of fun. Like the against the backdrop of the whatever.
Yeah.
I like also, like, especially for car trips, audio books of celebrity memoirs.
Oh, God,
when the celebrity is doing the actual reading of it, like my friend Guy Branum, who was did the Pop Rocket podcast, and he hosted talk show The Game Show for several years. Very, very funny person, and wrote this great memoir called My Life as a Goddess. That's just amazing, and to hear him read it is just chef's kiss. I would also recommend Parker Posey's memoir because she can spin a yarn, that Parker Posey.
I remember the first time I fell in love with Parker Posey was her in Josie and the Pussycats. It's legit one of my favorite movies. It is, and I do not care how many people drag me and hate me for this. It is, in my opinion, the best comic book movie ever made. It is so true to its source material. It is amazing and funny and wonderful and so perfect.
People who don't like or get Josie and the Pussycats are bad and wrong. It is a brilliant satire of consumerism and pop culture, and has one of the greatest soundtracks ever recorded for a film.
100%. I actually am such a fan and have been such a vocal fan that I actually got interviewed for a book that is being released by Russ Burlingame. We became friends on Twitter because he kept posting stuff about Josie and the Pussycats, and then we would just have like 3-hour long sessions of us just sending memes back and forth. And like, that's legit how we became friends, because God bless Twitter.
Well, my husband and I, our podcast Linoleum Knife, we do a thing that our Patreon members get called Linoleum Knife Presents More Linoleum Knife, and the version of it is now that we'll do like a 20 or 30 minute podcast episode where we just talk about one movie. But when we first started doing them, we were doing them like DVD commentaries, so they ran the length of the film, and we did one for Josie and the Pussycats. And yeah, I've been a fan since the get-go.
It's just like I've listened to it probably every day, like on Spotify. Like there's nothing that gets me out of bed faster than, well, he looks at me with those innocent, and like you have to get up and dance. Like, I don't care, it's so great.
Did you go to the show at the Ace when they did the soundtrack release?
I was on tour and I was supposed to go, and I had like a VIP like invite for it.
Oh, nice.
And I couldn't go, and I was so heartbroken. And I was just like, please take all the photos and tell everyone I love them.
I had a friend of mine had tickets and then wound up not being able to go, so I got to go in his place at the last minute. I didn't expect I was going to get to, and it was just like to see Kay Hanley and the actual band perform the actual songs, to have like Rosario Dawson come running out on stage because she was traveling and didn't think she was going to be there, and like came straight from the airport. It was a whole thing. It was amazing.
I mean, I'm dying for a Du Jour movie. Like, can we please get that sequel of Du Jour on tour?
Did you see the Robot Chicken Archie Comics special?
God bless Seth Green. It's so good. It was like I literally remember watching it and being like, this is for me. Like, this is made for me, and I'm so happy.
Thank you for closing that loop, Mr. Green.
Yes. But I still want, I would love for them to do, even if it was like a 5-city tour. I would, if I did not finagle my way onto that crew, I would go to every city just to go watch Josie and the Pussycats and Du Jour do a co-headlining tour. And that's all I want.
Just follow them like the Dead, you know.
I would be those girls at their door with like the Josie ears, like a fangirl. Oh, I got Josie, I love it. Like, oh, it's, yeah. You will never see me fangirl that hard. Like, I love that movie so much. But speaking of music, what is okay? So, guys, for all of you who don't know, when I asked Alonso to be on this, he's like, "Well, we are a few decades apart. I hope that doesn't matter." Because I was like, "Yeah, we talk about movies and music," and I'm like, "No, I love it." So, what music did you listen to growing up?
Well, again, I think I had the older siblings who were flat out boomers. So, I got exposed to a lot of Beatles and a lot of, kind of like 60s girl groups, the Supremes and the Chiffons and the Ronettes and stuff like that, which is all great. I love that. And then once I sort of started kind of carving out my own space, I had really dorky musical taste in high school. Like, I listened to like, the Manhattan Transfer, I know it's
so great.
It's embarrassing, but actually, though, I did have my one sort of stab at coolness at the end of my high school. This is, mind you, we're talking about the 1980s. I had I really got into the Police when they were sort of like at the very end of their career, and I got into REM at the very beginning of their career. And my closest friends in high school listened to a lot of Rush and Van Halen and did not want to know anything about either of those bands. And then when we all came back home for Thanksgiving, and obviously they'd been in college long enough to be informed that Van Halen and Rush were not cool and maybe were never cool, they all wanted to borrow my Police and REM albums to tape them. So, that was my moment.
Well, what was your first concert then?
My first concert, not counting they used to do these Toys for Tots shows in Atlanta where like a bunch of people would be on the bill. The Village People were on one of them one of the years. My first actual concert was Devo.
I love that. My friend is your sound guy. Like, legit, if they go back out on tour, I get to call him and be like, so I'm going to come hang out with you at your sound booth because I don't care. Yeah. That's so funny.
Yeah. The Oh No tour. It was 1981 or 2, I think. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Do you remember who played with them?
Oh God. Like who opened?
Yeah.
I do not. I do remember that like the year before, like that was sort of the first year my parents would let me go to a concert by myself on a weeknight, the whole 9 yards. Yeah. The year prior was when the Go-Go's and the Police toured together.
Oh,
which to this day, I'm mad that I didn't get to go to that show.
Yeah, I remember my first concert was supposed to be my friend Jessica's dad. Did the whole like divorce not around dad thing and like bought her and all of our group of friends tickets to go see Smashing Pumpkins on a school night in San Francisco, and he was going to take us there and bring us back. We were going to sleep over, and then we were all going to go to school the next day.
Right.
My parents told me I couldn't go because it was a school night. I was the only one who didn't get to go. And then they didn't come to school the next day, and I was fucking it was ridiculous.
Scandal.
I was so angry. I like came home that day, like threw my book bag down, slammed doors. Oh,
Mom, you've ruined everything.
You ruined my life. It was awful, and I've never let her forget that. But yeah, I will never ever forget that.
Now, this is pre Billy Corgan becoming like right-wing creep period.
Oh yeah, no, this is like
peak Pumpkins.
This is Infinite Sorrows days. This is 96.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I was 12. Then again, my first concert was supposed to be Salt and Peppa and R. Kelly, and my parents were going to drop. Yeah. Cancel. It got rained out and rescheduled, and that was when they decided to start listening to the lyrics. And I was like, I don't want to go. I was like, I don't care about R. Kelly. I just want to go see Salt and Peppa. I still to this day know every word to Very Necessary, the entire cassette.
And well, you should.
Yeah.
So what wound up being your first concert then, if it wasn't either of those?
Billy Joel and Elton John.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, and Elton John's going back out on tour, and I'm like, okay, who do I have to call? What do I have to do to get on this tour? I do not care. Do you want a child? I can get you a child.
Don't offer that to R. Kelly, please.
Oh God. Well, yeah, no.
Too soon. Sorry.
Too soon. Or not. Screw it. He was an ass. But so was that your? Oh, we got a Streamlab came in. Oh, which reminds me, guys, if you have any questions, we're going to be on here for another 45, 50-ish minutes. Or actually a little bit longer because you don't have a heart out anymore.
No.
So if you have any questions, send them in to Streamlabs. The link is down below. Michael K says, question for you both. What's a band or artist that you'd like to see write their own movie musical?
Oh. My two favorite bands when this kind of thing comes up are both 90s combos that did not last, but they click all of my buttons of things that I love in music. But one is, do you know a group called Jellyfish?
Oh my God.
They had 2 albums. So you're forgiven if you don't know who they are, but they are if you're the really nerdy people at Amoeba, ask them and they'll know. It's these 2 guys who brought all of this collection of references. You listen to their stuff and you can kind of pick out the Queen and the Badfinger and the ELO and all these different sort of things, but it's all still very much original in their own kind of thing, and impeccably produced, amazing harmonies, just gorgeous stuff. And then they stopped speaking to each other and broke up, but they left behind 2 albums that the people who love them a lot. So
did they have a major single that people would be like, oh, I remember that song?
They got some MTV play out of a few songs. They had a song called The King is Half Undressed, that the guy with a top hat with a lot of fruit coming out of it. Here's the thing. It was the early 90s and they were dressed like Sid and Marty Krofft characters while grunge was happening. And so
gotcha.
The mass audiences were not down for that. So love Jellyfish. And then there's a Japanese group called Pizzicato 5 that's very sort of steeped in kind of 60s glamour, but they have really great, they have really cool beats and would get remixed by 808 State and people who really dug them. And again, another sort of early 90s MTV staple, even if it's just they were using their song in promos and stuff and you didn't know who the hell that band was. But yeah, I would say either of them, just because if you look at their videos, they come to it with this from the get-go, this is what our style is, this is how we're going to dress, this is the sort of the aesthetic that we're going to bring to the music video. So they would already show up with all of this stuff ready to go and then just to be turned into a feature.
That's awesome.
How about you?
I love this just gets solidified. It's not recency bias because they just played MSG, but Foo Fighters.
Okay.
I would love to see them write a musical about their life. Like, I find them fascinating. Their band history is phenomenal. It's so weird and twisted, and it's got really sad, like it's got drug abuse, and people left and came back, and like they don't talk to people anymore. Like it's a rock opera that I would very much like to see.
All right. Have you seen the Sparks Brothers yet?
I haven't yet. I'm like,
so good.
I know, I need to.
What's just amazing about it is that like it's this rock documentary, and there's never that part of like, oh, and then they like blew all their money on heroin and mansions and had to get their shit together. No, like these guys at one point their records aren't selling, so they take like 6 years off and live off their savings, and then come back later with something else. It's
amazing.
Like, who are these people? What planet are they from?
Now I know that there was talks for a long time about this, but I would still really love to see a Panic at the Disco musical.
Oh.
Because when American Idiot first appeared on Broadway, it did really, really well. And so they were like, oh, let's cash in. What other bands can we do this with? And like Panic at the Disco is such an easy selection because they are so theatrical, not just with like their appearance, but like the styles of their songs are very much Broadway and burlesque and cheeky and performance based. So I know a lot of producers went after them, and they were in talks for a really long time. And I'm still dying to get it. Like, I'm not necessarily a big fan of jukebox musicals. I think they can be done really, really well, or really, really horribly. Like the Queen one, that thing was a piece of, oh my God. But I think it would be really fun to see that brought to life. And I think it would be really interesting for me because I remember like those are guys that like I met before they blew up. Like I've seen them go through all of the stages of fandom and like fame and stuff like that. And it would be so great to show up on opening night and be like, I'm so proud of you guys.
I have never seen a jukebox musical for a band that I feel like I grew up with, like I saw Jersey Boys or whatever, but like that I don't have connections to those songs necessarily, but a friend of mine has been developing with the band's endorsement an erasure musical for a while, which I think could be very cool. I think it's been workshopping and that whole thing. But like I can't imagine going to see Moving Out, because I again, like my older siblings played The Stranger all the time. The idea of seeing like scenes from an Italian restaurant turned into like a musical number, I just like, I don't know that but I don't know. Maybe people like it. I don't know.
I've seen it and I really enjoyed it for the pure fact that my friend was the lead.
Well,
and it was very like, it was well done. It was one of those, like, it was a really sweet, like it's one of those musicals where you're like, this is really fun. And that's where it ends.
I heard the Go-Go's one was really cool because it's like, they match it to such a bizarro kind of plot or something, right?
Yeah.
Like it's set in the 14th century or something.
It was supposed to be so weird and so good. And I wanted to see it so badly. And I just never got around to it. And now it's like, obviously not on Broadway anymore. But I, like in that vein, I really want to go and see Six.
What's that?
It's the story of Henry VIII's wives.
Oh, okay.
And it's like a rock musical, like rock inspired musical with like his wives just like completely trashing him. It looks ridiculous and so much fun.
Anybody famous doing it or?
Not really. It was open for like 2 years before COVID. I think it's coming back, so I'm hoping it's still around by the time I get to New York the next time.
Yeah, I was thinking I'd never go to New York, so I'm always woefully behind on Broadway.
The Great White Way, which that name needs to change. Like really, like can we?
Yeah.
Another name, please? Like. Do you get to go see a lot of shows when they come to LA? Like, are you a Pantages or Amundsen kind of guy?
Not that much. Like, here's the thing: my husband, we lived in Dallas Fort Worth for a long time, and we had friends who would be in shows and be like, and we had to go see them sort of as politesse, and they were often not good. And so he just decided that like he didn't want to go see live theater ever. But if I can drag him out, he actually does wind up enjoying the stuff, because really all I want to see is like anything Sondheim, and then like a handful of other shows. Like if 1776 comes to town, I'm never going to miss that, unless of course COVID happens, which it did last summer, so I didn't get to see that one. But But like, we saw the Follies touring show, which was basically the Broadway cast minus Bernadette Peters, which I'm sure she was great, but the woman who was doing the role was also dynamite, and it was the full setting. Did you see this most recent Follies?
No, I have the one they did in 1970, like the
original,
the concert one that they did.
Oh, right. No, that's from the 80s one, like with Carol Burnett and yeah. No, they did a whole full bore revival a couple years ago. I don't remember if it started in London or not, but like just I mean, you walk into the where it's one of the downtown ones, not the Dorothy Chandler, but I give maybe the Amundsen, I guess.
The Amundsen,
yeah, and just this like wall of roses. Like, what the hell, it was tremendous, and we've seen a couple different companies, and we saw the Deaf West Spring Awakening, which was amazing.
God.
Yeah, but I would go to more, but it's weird. Like the Pantages, I look at their schedule and it's like Hamilton and 4 shows based on movies, I'm like,
yeah. but I mean, you said you loved Funhouse. Did you get to see the show live?
Fun Home, yes. I saw it actually twice when it was here. I was working at Outfest at the time, so we got like tickets to they did like some sort of gay night or whatever, and then I bought tickets for a matinee and went a second time. Yeah, it was extraordinary. That was one of the. I'm not like a giant theater, musical person, but I bought the off-Broadway cast album of Fun Home sight unseen, just because I loved the book that it was based on so much.
Mm-hmm.
And I figured, well, I know the material. I can piece together what the plot is here, and yeah, I've been a fan ever since.
Yeah, we that was one of the things I missed about being on tours. Every now and then we'd be in the same city as other tours, and our schedules wouldn't necessarily be identical, so we would be able to do like a ticket swap with them.
Oh, right.
So we'd be like, okay, well, you have a Wednesday matinee and we have a Sunday matinee or a Sunday evening show. Like, do you guys want to switch tickets? And so we would get to go see their show and they'd come see ours, and it was like the best. And Fun Home, like, oof, that show hit hard.
And a friend of mine actually did the sound for that one for the tour, so y'all might even know each other. I don't even know. Yeah,
probably. The theater world is that big.
Exactly.
Like I just found out that my friend was going back out on tour in the fall, and I'm so excited. I'm like, yay! But wait, am I going back out too? Because if I am, then I'm not going to see you ever. It's like, do I sit and let everybody come through town? But
no, I hope all of that is back up and running soon, because I know for people in the theater, it's been just like a nightmare.
We were the first to shut down, the last to reopen.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
But Hallmark Channel very smart about like snapping up all the out of work Broadway people and sticking them in Christmas movies.
And I'm so excited for this Christmas to see all of them. Oh my God! like I don't know how much you know about my insane obsession with these movies.
No, tell me.
I legit will not watch anything else during the month of December. Like, I am like a crack addict and have like a calendar that I have of like I literally schedule in all of the old movies that have come out in the last few years. And then I wait to see what new movies come out. And if I want to watch them and where in the schedule I can throw that. Like, it is a sickness. I love these movies so much.
No, look, I have whatever they do to sucker people into watching 40 new movies a year. Like, they got my number. I will do it now. I used to be like, well, I would be kind of selective. Like I actually went through a long period. Like, I don't watch the Candace Cameron Bure ones, but now, no, I watch every single one of them. Yeah. And who am I kidding? Of course, I'm going to watch all of them. And so, like with anything else, of course, I always turn my avocations into a vocation. So that's why I have a book about Hallmark Christmas movies coming out in the fall, because God forbid I just enjoy something on my own time and not turn it into a job.
Is it this?
It is this. Yes, it's in a collaboration with the Deck the Hallmark podcast, which, if you have not listened to, is a hilarious show. It's these 3 guys in South Carolina. One of them loves these movies, one of them likes them, one of them hates them. So however you land on the spectrum, somebody on that show has your back. And so the book is just a really funny kind of collection of the best of I think 116 reviews of Hallmark Christmas movies, a little history of how the show got together and these guys, their friendship, which goes back quite a way. We have a whole section on how to throw your own Hallmark, viewing party. So yeah, if you're a fan of these books or you are hard up for a Christmas present for somebody who's a fanatic about them, check it out. It comes out in September, but they're doing a deal for Leon Day. Anybody who pre-orders the book on the 25th, 26th, or before 6 p.m. Eastern on the 27th, send your receipt to hello@deckthehallmark.com. Those guys are going to eat a sugar cookie for every pre-sale and give you a shout out on a Facebook live stream they'll be doing.
It's so dangerous.
I hope they are very small sugar cookies, or this could get real messy.
My grandmother used to make these things she literally called them little stinkers, and they were like they were literally just like the tiniest balls of sugar cookies with like those round dot sprinkles on top of them.
Yeah.
And like literally she would make all of I'm one of 15 grandchildren on my mom's side.
Wow.
So she would just you would walk into the house, get greeted, and then you'd be handed a cookie sheet and you would have to go to the table, and there was a giant bowl of cookie dough in the middle. And because we were tiny with little hands, our job was to roll the little stinkers and put them on, and you weren't allowed to leave the table until you had done 2 sheets.
No dummy, your grandma.
No.
Put those kids to work.
Oh, she's like, oh, you're coming over for Christmas? Sweatshop time. Let's go. Although it did pay off.
Earn your keep.
It did pay off later in life, because you knew in my mom's family that you were an adult when you got your own cookie tin.
Oh,
because
okay.
Everybody, yeah. As soon as you turned 18, that Christmas, you would get your own cookie tin. And it was your responsibility to send it back to grandma before Thanksgiving of next year so that she could fill it and send it back to you. If you didn't send your cookie tin in, you didn't get any cookies.
Right. No, nor should you.
Yeah.
And all being it also made your hands were now too large to roll the cookies. So,
Well, see, that's the genius of it. I was the third oldest of 15. So there was just like an even stream of children being popped out that they were, and then the little stinkers just became stinkers because we were like, yes, we're like, Grandma, give us the wine. Like, yeah, we're like, have you ever heard of a cookie pizza? What are your favorite Christmas treats?
I pretty much you could put like dark chocolate and peppermint on like packing material, and I will probably scarf it down with glee. There's little that I'm gonna say no to. I love those I don't even know what they're called, those cookies that it sort of seems like it's 2 flat kind of webby pieces stuck together, and it's kind of caramel in the middle. Yes, chocolate ones.
They're German. They're like Strudelhoffs or something. Strudelwaffles or something.
No, that's something else. Those are the ones that are like little like little waffles, basically.
Yeah.
The wavy. I don't even know. I don't have any terminology here.
Oh no, I know. It's like got the chocolate in the middle, and it's like
yes, they're crispy, but the both sides of it seem like it's all like it's been sort of like poured on something,
just crack. That's all it is.
There you go. That works fine for me. There's my parents were both born in Spain, so we would have these like Spanish holiday treats around the house, and turrón is sort of like it's in the brittle family, let's say, but it's a hard nougat with almonds in it that's really tasty. But then also these things called piñones, which are pine nuts, but covered in white sugar, like in that like a hard white candy shell. So they look like Tic Tacs, but you bite them and it's like pine nut inside, and they're really good.
Yummy.
What do I look forward to at the holidays, though, food wise? I mean, what don't I, frankly?
I know, right?
But definitely like all about the cocoa and all about I put these recipes together, and half the time it's like, why is this a Christmas thing? Like, it just seems like something you would have whenever, but
yeah.
It's a green vegetable with bacon in it. I think that is the year-round treat. Why not?
It's true. That's very true. Yeah, it's been real interesting when I've been coming home for Christmas and stuff when I was on tour, just because I'm that pain in the ass vegan in the family, and so I'd be like, cool. Yeah, I know, right? It was real hard at first, but like now that like I volunteered to bring eggnog one time, and I homemade eggnog with like it's got visual dates in it and like coconut milk. It's still like thick and like really spicy and delicious. And oh my God, now I get yelled at if I don't bring it.
And look, eggnog is really just a carrying device for booze anyway. So
of course it is.
You're holding up that end of it. I don't think anybody's going to mind. No, that's true. So it's like those date shakes that you get when you're driving to Palm Springs. Okay, well, yeah, I can see
100%.
I can see
a little more cinnamon
as a reasonable nog substitute. I will. Yes.
Yeah, it's good, but I also I find that spiced Jägermeister is the best to mix with eggnog.
I guess. Yeah, I mean, like you have to cut it with something because that stuff is just astringent.
Oh yeah, I mean it's the spiced one. It's not like the regular like cough syrup. So it does taste like it's got like anise in it and cinnamon and stuff. So it's still like it has like a flavor to it, but it's so good. Like if you mix it just the right, it's so delicious.
You may have to make me one before I totally buy into this, but I'll give you the benefit of the doubt that you.
I mean, I will be down for spectacular 100%, and it's December, so it's Christmas time.
There you go.
We can have a Den Christmas party right around spectacular.
Yeah, that would be a blast. I love the bûche de Noël that they make at Bristol Farms. The Yule log cake.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, I was thinking croquembouche. Yeah.
Right. No. The bûche de Noël, the Yule log cake at Bristol Farms here in Los Angeles does one that is just like, I don't know what's in that stuff, but it's just like the cream is so creamy, I guess. I don't know. And I've seen people like who make them at home, and it's like noble efforts, and they'll sometimes get the whole like fork into the fondant that looks like bark thing down. But man, there's something they do at Bristol Farms that is just like no one else that I've encountered yet quite nails it the same way.
Yeah, it's an incredible thing that filling that they have. Like I've literally remember sitting there one time when I was very, very young. My mom went to go pick up one from some bakery. And like I remember sitting there and watching them make it, and they're like, "This is the one." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." And I was like just watching them. And I was just like, that was before cooking shows happened, and like I just remember that being like my first holiday cooking show in person. And I was like, "This is amazing." Yeah, I can't get enough of those either. The cooking shows, they're like,
yes.
Especially the holiday ones. Like it just makes you feel so inadequate, but yet so adventurous and so unreasonably sure of yourself at the same time.
Well, I mean, my husband cooks, thank God. Like that's how I survived the pandemic, basically, because one of us had to. And he doesn't watch competition shows because he feels like he doesn't pick up any, how to from that. But man, he will like watch Nigella or the Barefoot Contessa or whatever, and just like look at certain, he'll watch certain parts of like Martha making this thing 3 times to sort of get, okay, this goes in and then she's in the stir with the thing and he'll actually make a reasonable facsimile of this stuff. And it's like, wow, that is an element of wizardry I cannot pull off. Like I have a few recipes that I can do okay, and then other ones that I will try and then weep in the kitchen because I forgot a step or a thing didn't go right, and I have no game face in the kitchen.
You had soda, you used soda instead of powder, and it all got fucked up. Yeah. No, I like to say I'm a reasonably good cook. Like I love just looking at a pantry and being like, okay, what can I make out of this? Because I'm broke and I'm also not going to the store right now. So what can I make? And I love like mixing things up. And like I created this dish that my mom has now like insisted that I make at least once a week. So like it's fun, but also like I find baking to be witchcraft.
Yeah, that's it. Because like, if you're making a big pot of like, tomato sauce for spaghetti or something, things don't have to be exact, but like suddenly baking, you're a chemist, and it's just like it's very nerve-wracking. The making the having ingredients thing is another one of Dave's areas of expertise, in that he just puts things in Google. He's like, he'll just enter like, okay, we have spinach and we have, like eggs and we have, the 3 things that are about to go bad in the fridge. And then all these recipes will come up and he'll just figure out the one that has stuff that we already have at home or that doesn't sound terrible,
Yeah, it's I find it so much fun. I mean, maybe it's because I went so long without a kitchen that like now that I have access to a kitchen, like whenever I want.
Step back, everybody.
I mean, I still at this point, like when I used to visit, I would kick people. Like I would go visit my friends in Austin. Like had a key to their house, visited whenever I could, stayed with them all the time. I love them; they are family. But I would walk into their house and be like, "All right, get out of my kitchen." And the first time I did that, they were like, "What?" And I'm like, "I'm making you dinner. Get out of my kitchen."
You heard me.
The only reason you're allowed in here is to fill up my wine. And that's it. This is Italian cooking rules. Unless I invite you in, you are not allowed in this room. And so after that first night, when I made them dinner, they were like, are you taking over the kitchen again? Because we're hungry.
We'll stay out.
We'll stay out. What kind of wine do you want? But I love that. Like maybe that's why I love the holidays so much, because food is such a love language of mine.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
I love making people food. Like the Anthony Bourdain was right. Like you can go anywhere in the world, not speak the language, not know anybody, but bond with somebody over a dish. And like I think that there's something so magical in that, and I love that. I think that that's what I associate with the holidays, is like people coming together and bringing friends home, or like meeting boyfriends and girlfriends of family members, or like just reconnecting with your cousins, like over your grandmother's streusel. Like it's just, there's something so comforting and familiar and wonderful about that I think it's such a great aspect of the holidays that I love.
I think some of the best memories I have of that time of year is just like there's a word in Spanish called sobremesa, which literally means over the table, but it's like when you've had the meal and nobody feels like getting up, and so you just stay at the table and you talk and you talk and you talk for however many hours, and so like just some amazing sobremesas going on after Christmas, because everybody's in a food coma, and it's like we haven't seen each other in a while, we have a lot of stories to exchange, or things that we remember or whatever. And so I think that's the thing about the holidays. It's like it's like the thing where they tell you at Thanksgiving that no, the tryptophan and the turkey isn't making you tired, it's the carbs and the booze, but it's just this thing where everybody's like jacked up on like sugar and wine and eggnog and stuffing and potatoes, and so you're just like, oh yeah, remember that time and it's great. These are the memories that last forever.
I mean, I think my favorite holiday scene in any TV show has to be in Friends, when they're all sitting around talking about the Thanksgivings of yore, and they're all just sitting around, and like I think Rachel leans back and she's like, "Monica, you did it! You finally did it! You killed us!" And everyone's like super full, and Joey goes, "I need something sweet." Like in that moment, I was like, I've never felt more identifiable with a character on TV ever. Like just that you're so full, but like you're just like, I just want like a Hershey kiss. Like somebody will go get me a chocolate kiss.
Is there
go get me a little stinker. Just one little stinker. That's all I want. Like, but it's so perfect. Like, yes, that is. Now, do you have any what are your some of your favorite holiday TV episodes?
There were two Mary Tyler Moore episodes that I like a lot. One is it's like first season. Interestingly enough, the title of the episode is Christmas and the Hard Luck Kid, which the show's creator James L. Brooks and Alan Burns, I think, had written a That Girl episode like 2 or 3 seasons previous, which with the same title. And it's like Mary it's her first year at the station. She gets stuck working Christmas Eve and she's alone in the office, and whatever. Yeah. But then there's one later on in like season 4 or 5, and it's not technically a Christmas episode, but what happens is there is this huge blizzard, everybody's stuck in the station, and because of things that have been happening along the course of the previous few days, everyone's mad at each other and no one is speaking to each other. And Sue Ann Nivens, the happy homemaker, comes in and she was like, look, I just taped my holiday episode with like holiday Christmas feasts from around the world, and every course is a different country, and they're all just like grumbling, and she finally says, look, you can stay up here and have some peanuts and a dry sandwich out of a vending machine, or you can come downstairs for an 8-course culinary delight, plus enough booze to knock you all on your hinders. And so, of course, they trudgingly go down. And by the end of the episode, like they're a little less mad at each other, but they're still mad at each other. But they're all wearing these like festive, like hats from around the world. It's a great episode.
I love that. I think for Thanksgiving, it's definitely the Friends episodes. They're so funny. Like, they're so iconic. But for Christmas, I love the Psych episodes.
Oh, I haven't seen those.
They're just Psych is just a perfect show. It's one of those, like, it was one of those, like, written for nerds and pop culture ridiculous fans.
I saw
ridiculous fans.
I saw the Clue episode.
Oh, it's so good.
Which I thought was fun, but it was one of those things where I was watching like, I bet this would be landing harder if I knew this show and I knew these characters, because I don't. But that's, one of these days that'll be on the list. I'll get caught up.
Yeah, they do a Clue episode, they do a Twin Peaks episode. There's a Fast and Furious episode that I recommend people watching before they go see Fast 9. They're just ridiculous. Like, if you could be a fan about something, they do an episode about it, and it's wonderful. They do a musical episode. It just breaks. It's so wonderful.
Are you a fan of Phineas and Ferb at all?
If I ever have children, if they don't turn out like Phineas and Ferb, I'm sending them back. Not joking. That's literally the only reason I would ever consider having a child.
There are 2 Phineas and Ferb Christmas specials, which are the only Phineas and Ferb episodes I've ever seen, but I love them. One is one where they're doing a Christmas like special, and like Kelly Clarkson shows up, but they never let her sing. And then there's another one that's all songs where like the bully does Good King Wenceslas, but he actually changes the lyrics to be about the actual historical Wenceslas who wasn't a king, and it still fits in the meter of the song. I'm like, I don't know this show, but I love these Christmas shows.
The show is so good. It's literally about these 2 brothers that are they're stepbrothers, and they're just like geniuses. Like, one talks a lot, the other is like the mechanical one, and they create these, like, literally it's about how much can they pack into their summer vacation, because the theme song is there's 104 days of summer vacation and school comes along just to end it, and it's literally they're just every day they want to do something amazing, and they build giant rock'em sock'em robots that are actually like 10 stories tall, and like they get all this like wood and like stuff delivered, and they sign for it, and they're like, aren't you a little young to be ordering that? They're like, yes we are. Like, it's clever and funny and just like so wholesome, and I'm just like, yes, you can destroy my backyard as long as you create like a robot dog that will never die for me. Like, yes. Those are the best. I love those. Oh, Disney's got some good stuff. I just bless them for giving us Phineas and Ferb. But like, really, well, you were talking about how your husband cooks and everything. Did you discover have you discovered a COVID career, as they call it?
My career was happening during COVID. That's the thing. Like, I realize in a lot of ways I'm very lucky that way, because like I have a job where I was pretty much doing it at home all the time anyway. Like the one of the main things I would leave the house for was screenings, and so once those didn't happen anymore, it was just getting links. So like I have friends who work in grocery stores. I have nothing but admiration for the folks who had no choice but to get out in the world. But we were just cocooned in here because we converted a closet into a pantry, and we just started ordering stuff in bulk and having everything delivered. And we had the CSA box, the community sourced agriculture. So we'd not only get a weekly box of vegetables, but they delivered milk and eggs too. So like we had a milkman, so it literally never left the house. I quarantined hard during this thing, and was podcasting, my little life out. So, because Dave and I, we do Linoleum Knife, which is a free show, but then we have a Patreon where we do like, 4 or 5 additional episodes a week of content that's exclusive to subscribers. And then, I've got Breakfast All Day and Maximum Film, and until recently a film and a movie. So, my docket was full. I had a brief period of not being at the Wrap because they really had to kind of cut back on stuff. But by the time the fall festival season started again, they're like, nope, we need you. And
kidding.
Exactly, yeah. So it wasn't like I got to work on my tap dancing or anything. In the meantime, like I never stopped working because I have built this life for myself where I never have to leave my apartment.
That sounds so lovely.
It has its ups and downs.
I mean, yes, there's always, I mean, people always used to say that about tour life, and I'm like, yeah, but it's always nice when you get to look over that fence and you're like, oh, what could have been, and then go back and sleep in your own bed every night.
Exactly.
I love you so much. Sorry, I have a love affair with my bed. It gets sad every time I start talking about leaving it.
How many are you a bring your own pillows person while you're on the road? Because I have become one. I can't sleep on just anything. I gotta have.
This sounds so bougie. It depends on the tour and what hotels we're staying at.
Okay.
It like the last one I did. The last one I did was with John Leguizamo for the Latin History for Morons tour. And it was literally like a 7-person tour group. It was John, his tour manager, me, sound guy, light guy, crew guy, and then somebody else, I think. It was literally like just the 6 or 7 of us.
Right.
And so because we were all traveling and staying at the same hotels, we were staying at hotels that John Leguizamo was staying at. So they were all really nice. So I was like, I don't need to bring anything on this trip. Like, I don't even need to bring shampoo and conditioner because I know literally at this point in my touring career, I know every single hotel we're going to. Like, I know the hotel managers at some of these places. Like, I walked into one.
You know which brands they've got.
I literally walked into a hotel in Chicago, and the manager came out, and they were like, "Oh my God, you're back!" and like gave me a hug. Like,
nice.
That was my life for 7 years straight. Was living in hotels on the road. So like, it got to the point where I was like, well, I can rough it for a few nights at this hotel because we're going to the Omni at this, like in Austin, and then we're going to like, the DoubleTree in this hotel, and I know that those hotels are
these
really
guys
nice.
have keels, and then at this next one I get some Aveda. It's awesome.
Oh, dude, the Aveda stuff. Stockpile that. Oof. I think I'm almost out, which means I need to go back on tour again.
Yeah, that's nature's way of letting you know.
When you run out of your stash. Of the thousands of bottles of shampoo.
You gotta collect more hotel freebies.
But I mean, I figure if you use them and like there's some missing, they're just gonna throw them out anyway. So like,
oh well, of course,
bring them home. It's fine.
You're helping the environment.
I really am. And then I wash them out and like recycle them.
Nice.
I'm a good person. I try to be. Okay, so now that everything's opening back up again.
Yes.
Are you excited to travel anywhere as I knock everything off of my desk?
Yeah, I'm hoping that we're going to get to go out and schlep this book some. I don't know how much that's going to be me and how much is going to be them or all of us together or whatever. But like, I'm definitely, I'm going to where they are in Greenville a couple times this year, which would be fun. Greenville, South Carolina.
South Carolina?
Yes.
Oh, there is a distillery there that I am so deeply in love with. I'm not even joking. Oh my gosh. I will give you directions. But guys,
give me the details. I need to know about this.
It's so good. They literally make they make I want to say flavored whiskey because that like it just sounds really cheap. But they have like a maple bacon bourbon and like a peach bourbon. And that shit is so good.
I'll tell you, I saw them. They had maple whiskey on Letterkenny, and I was like, I'm intrigued. And then a friend of mine gave me a bottle for Christmas, and it lives up to the hype.
Yeah, it does. They have a butterscotch bourbon that I use in my eggnog, and
I bet, yeah.
Like the first time I did that, I was like, well, now my life is completely ruined. Because if I don't have this on Christmas morning, I will be very, very sad.
Christmas is ruined, yes.
Christmas is canceled.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And then in December, knock wood, hopefully it all still happens as planned. it will be the second in-person Christmas con in New Jersey, which I went to the inaugural one, and it was a blast. It was like Hallmark movie fanatics from around the country.
Oh my God.
Like there was a whole section of it that really wasn't my jam. Like I didn't need to get like Lacey Chabert's autograph or photos or whatever, but like I got to moderate some panels with like Christmas podcasters, which was really fun because it was like the Bubbly Sesh ladies and Tim Babb from Can't Wait for Christmas and the host of Christmas Past and the Deck of Hallmark guys and some other folks. And then I did a panel with some writers. So it was like 3 women who do scripts for Hallmark and Lifetime movies. And then Joanna Wilson, who you should meet one of these days. I think y'all would hit it off. She, for whatever stabs at Christmas movie scholarship I have made, she is the queen of Christmas television. Like she has written several books. Like she would still be answering your question about favorite Christmas episodes because she's seen everything. She's written about everything and done the research. So anyway, yeah. So I had a blast at Christmas Con, and I'm psyched that they're doing it again. They were going to do one in Pasadena in the summer of 2020, and then that didn't happen. And then the New Jersey one for 2020 also didn't happen. And then they were going to try Pasadena again summer 2021, and it was still like, maybe not. So hopefully New Jersey December is still going on. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like so much fun. Like I'm not even joking. I'm like in my head, I'm like, I hope it's after Spectacular, and then I will fly back to New Jersey, and, like making plans in my brain. I mean, there's something just so lovely about conventions to begin with. Like even before, like pre-COVID, there was just something great about like getting together with people who identified with that part of you.
Yeah.
Like no matter how big of a slice of a personality it is for you, like I love Supernatural. That TV show is just so good, and going to the conventions are so much fun. Everybody has a great time. The actors are super humble and wonderful and lovely, like, and super interactive. You get to go and hang out, and you just get to live in that world for a little bit. So like right. I love conventions that allow you and welcome you to do that. And even now, like it's even more important now that everybody's been so separated.
For sure. And especially I think for stuff that's that sort of granular and specific, it's not going to be this mammoth thing. Like I watched Comic-Con become just metastasized into an event I couldn't cope with anymore. Just it was the volume of it was just overwhelming. But yeah, like this one, Nikki DeLoach is just going to hang out and chat with you for a while, and she's a hoot, and like some of the celebs were like to the green room, but a lot of them were just like hanging out and on the floor and seeing stuff, and very very cash about the whole thing. And it wasn't like such a mammoth turnout that they were going to get mobbed or anything. Like it was all very doable, and it's fascinating because like you so see the target demo in action, like because the Christmas Con audience was like overwhelmingly female and overwhelmingly over 40, but not entirely.
Yeah, no.
So that's always the fun part. The outliers are like, no, I'm into this too. This is my thing.
Yeah, I love that. And also just like I know that with there's a convention company that puts on the Supernatural conventions. They do like for all of the conventions that they do the same thing. They have a karaoke night that like the people who are there like as guests like come and participate with you. So like you never know. Like I got up one time in Vancouver to sing My Friends Over You by Newfound Glory, and one of the actors that was going to do it with me like forgot to study the lyrics, so he was like, I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm up there by myself singing a song that apparently nobody in the crowd knew. All of a sudden from backstage comes one of the actors hauling ass to come sing with me because it's one of his favorite songs.
Oh, nice.
And he like gave me this hug afterwards, and he was like, I haven't heard this song in so long. This is high school for me. And I was like, I know, Matt, we're the same age. But it was just it's so lovely. Like you just get to hang out with people, and like they do they have a concert and everybody gets to come and hang out and hear the cast sing, which is like, first of all, the Supernatural cast is just disgustingly attractive.
Well, and I think a lot of actors, like, come up through, maybe they weren't necessarily dedicated to musical theater, but they that was at least part of their lives. And so, like, it's kind of a fun thing to kick back and get to do when you do a show that is that requires you to do a very specific thing week after week after week. Like, I think any chance to sort of branch out of that. Yeah, Christmas Con had an Alicia Witt concert that I was so exhausted by the end of that day, or I would have gone. But, like,
she's so lovely.
Yeah,
she's so sweet.
And I love the idea that there's somebody who can have one foot in Hallmark and one foot in David Lynch.
Right. Well, for me, she'll always be the girl from the Sybil show who,
sure.
I remember because she's been in a few episodes of Supernatural. So she was at a convention one time,
wow.
And so I got to talk to her, and I was like, "Look, I adore you. I think you're wonderful. Everything you do is so much fun." I was like, "But I have to ask you something that is not about you, and this feels. I'm sorry in advance, but can we just talk about how wonderful Christine Baranski is?" And she was like, "I love her so much." And we both just had this like incredibly emotional like vomit at each other of like love for Christine Baranski. Because in my mind, she's a goddess. And when I was 12 and watching Sybil, and she walked around the house as Marianne with a sports bottle full of martinis, I was like, that's what I want to be when I grow up. And my mom's like, oh God.
Yeah, no, she all but stole that whole show. So I get the love.
She steals everything she's a part of. Like I literally forgot for 20 minutes that Meryl Streep was in Mamma Mia. Like, who needs Meryl Streep? You've got Christine Baranski dancing, being sought after by this beautiful 20-year-old in Greece, and she's dancing around on a beach with a sarong. Like, who needs Meryl?
Well, if you ever pick up the Blu-ray for Jeffrey that Shout put out a couple years ago, the commentary track is me interviewing Stephen Weber. Thank you. I was going to say Stephen Wright. I knew that wasn't it. Stephen Weber.
Thanks, honey.
And there's that whole like hoedown scene that Baranski's in, with the big choreograph moment. So we go in deep.
I just love her. Like, she and Cloris Leachman and Betty White. I'm like, if I could grow up and be like a combination of those three, like I just want to be a salty, craggy 70-year-old sitting on like just harassing people.
Have you ever seen the North Avenue Irregulars?
No.
That sounds like to me it would be your kind of Disney movie. It is about a group of church ladies who get together with their parish priest, played by Edward Herrmann, to crack a gambling ring. And it's like Cloris Leachman, Barbara Harris, Karen Valentine, Patsy, venerable character actor. She's in Rosemary's Baby, and Patsy Kelly goes all the way back to like the 30s. Anyway, it's that was a formative movie for me because I've long been a partial to old broad comedy.
I mean, that's what I feel like that's my soul. Like, I am just like, since I was like 12, I'm like, this is stupid. I don't like playing with kids my own age. Like, when I was in my 20s, I was like, people were like, let's go to a bar. And I'm like, ugh, I hate people in their 20s.
Get me a menthol and some stretch pants.
Be a dear, will ya? Give mommy a gimlet. But like, legit, I cannot wait till those days can be realized. Because now people are just like, you're in your 30s, like, calm down. I'm like, I know, but I'm halfway there.
I'm ready to start shopping for caftans at any moment.
Oh, I have one. I do. I've got a caftan. I've got a muumuu. I'm so ready for that life.
I admire that.
I mean, you got to have goals in life.
For sure. But it gets us through the decades.
And as long as Betty White is still alive,
right,
that's all that matters. Like,
I know she and Ed Asner like holding on for the Mary Tyler Moore cast. We just lost Gavin MacLeod.
I know. He was so special.
Although it's weird, somebody James Urbaniak posted this clip of Gavin MacLeod in like I Want to Live or some like old Susan Hayward melodrama, and he's playing like this cop who's like giving her a hard time and calling her like a hophead slut or something. And it's like, Gavin MacLeod, I missed your noir period,
Good sir. I love that. So have you discovered any like okay, so have you rediscovered any movies during the pandemic that you hadn't seen in a really long time and had completely forgotten about? And have you discovered any new movies that you hadn't seen before that have become favorites of yours?
Yeah, actually, I've kind of the same answer for both. One of the things that was a pleasant surprise for me while doing a film and a movie, which was a show where we would talk about older films and how they would influence, more recent ones, so we talked about like The Umbrellas of Cherbourg and La La Land, and The Old Dark House and Clue, that kind of thing. So we did an episode that was bringing up Baby and What's Up Doc, and I love What's Up Doc. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. And I had seen Bringing Up Baby in college once, and I found it kind of like frantic, and I didn't find like the Katharine Hepburn character, like I found her sort of obnoxious. And so I had this thought in my head, like, Bring Up Baby, whatever, but What's Up Doc, that's my jam. And so we did a thing connecting them, because obviously, like, Peter Bogdanovich would be the first to tell you he was basically remaking Bringing Up Baby. And I was delighted at how great Bringing Up Baby is. And I'm like, I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know how I didn't get that the first time, but I was so charmed and delighted by it. And Katharine Hepburn's great, and Cary Grant's, rarely been better. Like, and it's just, it has such manic energy. Like, it's the classic movie that you read about and you're like, audiences at the time didn't really know what to do, but like now it plays just like a dream. It's perfection. And so that was a real treat to kind of go back to again. But yeah, I mean, it's funny when the pandemic started, we were all treating it like it was a church lock-in, like at the end of like at the end of 36 hours, we were all going to get to go home and it'd be fine and whatever, So like I wrote this piece for The Wrap that was like, well, here are some long movies that you might want to check out now that you're at home all day, and I talked about like, when the unedited Until the End of the World, it's 5 hours. It's on Criterion Channel, the 8-hour Russian War and Peace and The Emigrants and The New Land and all this stuff. But like, I just immediately started going to like the fluffiest, lightest, least challenging stuff I could find. So I was watching like old musicals. Yes. They're all racist, but at least they're not very demanding plot wise. No, they're not all racist, but like some of them you're like, what are we doing?
The ones that aren't racist are Carousel. And that's just all about spousal abuse and how it's okay if you're a man. It's fine.
Exactly, right. So I was watching a lot of like old, just goofy stuff like Footlight Parade, and like I had never seen a Betty Grable movie, and I watched Coney Island. Like, this is bananas. And she was like the top star of the 1940s. Like this movie does make a lick of sense. I was watching it. I was, I think I might have had like 2 seconds of that. Oh, finally I can go back and watch The Wire. No, I'm not going to go watch The Wire during a pandemic. I'm going to rewatch Mary Tyler Moore, So it was all about happy place stuff, outside of things that I had to review that were, current, like, and thank you, by the way, to whoever decided to release the documentary, whatever. Oh shoot, no, the Trump and COVID documentary, but which was great, but also like, make it stop. I'm living in this movie, but yeah, so if it wasn't for work, it was just like 100 chorus girls and flying down to Rio. I could not deal with anything more substantive than that.
Yeah, see, I recently went back and rewatched Bringing Up Baby, and I don't know if it's just because I have like crazy anxiety, but like that movie, like I couldn't. It
is manic, you have to just kind of roll with that.
I love her, but I was like, if I was in this movie, I would punch her in the fucking throat and make her stop talking. Like, oh my God, like, stop it. But I also discovered that I had never seen Arsenic and Old Lace.
Oh, okay.
And I was watching it, and literally about 10 minutes in, I like stormed downstairs. I was like, mother, how have you never made me watch this? It's beautiful and wonderful and hilarious. And now I want to be an actress just so I can play one of the old aunts in any version of anything that they want to remake this of. But I remember last summer, I was when I was still living in LA with Alex Marzonia and Brendan Hanna. Alex and I watched What's Up Doc one night, and we were crying
Oh my
laughing. I had
God.
never seen it before, but I grew up watching Oscar,
Okay.
the movie with Stallone, and so
Right.
now Oscar and What's Up Doc is like one of my favorite double features. And like my mom hadn't seen What's Up Doc in like forever, so we like rented it on Amazon and like watched it, and we were like trying to keep track of where all the bags were and what was in them and who had them, and it's like I was like, you know what? For every time we get it wrong, we take a drink, and it just turned into this really fun drinking game with my mom. We got sloshed that night. It was great.
I have finally seen that movie enough times that I can keep track of who's got which bag. Like it's actually correct. Like the movie is somebody got the note cards right. It's everything is where it's supposed to be. You know, if you like those, have you seen the film version of Noises Off?
No.
That is maybe the hardest I've ever laughed in a movie theater the first time I saw that movie, and I've never seen it done live on stage, which I hear is just incredible. And I think people who have seen the show, and I'm guessing you probably have at some point, think the movie is like okay, but it's like the ultimate door slamming farce. And you know the premise, right? It's like it's a theatrical troupe that's putting on a farce, and it's this rehearsal, and like no one's getting their entrances right, and all the timing is wrong, and everything's screwed up. And then the second act is like about a month or so later, you know, when they're opening out of town, and it's like everybody in the cast has slept with each other and is now angry at each other and like not speaking to each other, and so it's even worse. And it's just one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it's very similar to the play where everything goes wrong.
Right, exactly. Yeah, kind of inspired that.
Oh my God, whoever ends up working as prop master on the tour, like, oh my God, like it's commendable if you're on Broadway and in a sit down house, like commendable still, crazy hard job. But keeping track of all that shit and like dealing with it breaking as from city to city is like, I can't even imagine. It's just so much. Like
I think they did like a thing for British TV. Maybe it's like the Christmas show that goes wrong or something. I could be wrong. I've kind of seen it in passing and haven't really like clicked on it and found out. But that seems like that would be a lot of fun.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds like every Christmas I've ever had with my family. Everything goes wrong. You know what's funny though? Like every time something goes wrong, everybody just instantly is like, oh, I just want one perfect holiday. And it's like, no, you don't. No. You won't know what to do with your stuff.
Then what would we talk about? Yeah.
Right? Nobody remembers like the stuff where everything went swimmingly.
No.
Like you might mention it and be like, oh yeah, that was a fun trip. But like when shit goes wrong.
Yeah, that's when it enters lore.
Yeah. Gather around the fire, children. Let me tell you about the Christmas of '94.
Like that's one of Dave's recurring things with my family is like, I don't want to become a story because I know how you people are. Everything becomes a story and the story gets told forever, and I don't want to be one.
No, don't think of it as a story. Think of it as being immortalized. That's what it is.
There you go.
Like I want songs of my life being sung by generations after I'm gone. Like fuck it. Like why not live a life that tells a story where people go, nah, this is bull.
Exactly. Let the mendicant poets and the wandering minstrels recount the legend.
Yeah, they need jobs. What's something you've done in your life that would commend a wandering minstrel song?
Oh man, nothing leaps to mind, frankly.
Oh, that cannot be true.
No, I've had my share of disasters, but nothing noteworthy. Just sort of, I think, guard right. Also, you're putting me on the spot. I'm sure I could come back with you to you next week. Like, oh, of course, there was that time that I set fire to the whatever, but like at the moment, I got nothing.
Yeah, I think if any part of my life should be turned into a movie, I think it has to be my senior trip. Because everything went wrong. Like everything. Like we were supposed to, it was just me and my 3 girlfriends, and we were going down to LA. We were going to go to Disneyland, and like the beach and hang out. And one of my friends was she wanted to be an actress, so she wanted to see LA and like see the different neighborhoods and see if she wanted to move there. And another one, we were planning on hitting up, dropping her off at UC Santa Barbara for her freshman orientation on the way up, because her dad was driving down and they were going to do that and then drive up together. Basically, what ends up happening, our hotel, we got creeped on at a hotel and the girls got scared. So we went in the middle of the night to go stay with my aunt and uncle while we are a little drunk, underage drunk too. Go see them, go to Disneyland the next day, where one of our friends complains constantly about missing their boyfriend, to the point where we're like, just go home then. Like, we'll be sad you're leaving, but if you miss him that much and you're making us miserable, go home. So then we end up going to the beach and like finally finding a parking spot in Venice. Like finally, like we paid for parking, parked, and our friend was in the back and she's like, hey, can somebody drop me off at LAX? I'm going home. My flight's in an hour. And I'm like, you've been on the phone planning this. We just paid for parking. And I was so angry. I was like, back in the car, we'll drop you off. And then she like didn't know how to check herself in. And then we got to the beach and met up with some friends and got a tattoo. And then like the next morning I had to go drop Holly off at Santa Barbara and came back. And then we hung out with my cousin and we got high. And then we lost our purses got stolen when we went out to lunch. So we didn't have our driver's license. We didn't have IDs. We didn't have our bank cards, and we were literally supposed to drive home the next day, and we had no money. Stayed with my another aunt and uncle that gave us money to drive home. And then we find out that Holly's phone is off because we were supposed to pick her up from Santa Barbara after the weekend, and we were calling her phone and we were like, just go home with your dad. Go home with your dad. We left like 35 messages. So we finally get a call from an 818 payphone, and she's like, hey, where are you? We're like, oh my god. She had no service on her phone. Her parents still to this day do not know that she had to fly home from Santa Barbara because I was literally already in San Jose, like in my bed, like just gotten home. And I was like, I can come get you, but it's going to be 4.5 hours. She's like, no, I'll just fly. And then she had an anxiety attack, like so she couldn't get on the flight, and I had to literally sweet talk a flight attendant into giving her like some drugs to like calm her down. Oh god. Like it was the most ridiculous trip, and still to this day I'm just like, that was probably the funniest trip I've ever taken in my life. But I just remember spending the whole time just being like, I'm surrounded by fucking idiots.
I've clearly accomplished nothing in this life, so fine.
Oh no! You just got to keep working during the pandemic. That's totally
I guess, yeah. Traja.
Okay. Oh, a job sounds so lovely right now. Although at this point, I'm like, how do I transition back to that?
Oh, yeah, it'll sneak up on you before you know it, I'm sure.
Oh, I know. Now I'm just like, now I have to deal with like moving and getting a job and all that fun stuff.
All right. Well, I think that's our time.
I think that is. Yes, I was about to say, is there anything else? So, guys, if you have any more remaining questions, send those in. We'll be on for another like 3 or 4 minutes to get those in, because I know there is a delay on YouTube. So when you hear this, if you have anything, send it in on Streamlabs, and we'll get to it. And then I will ask my famous last question from my favorite movie. So what is your favorite movie? I know it's like the worst question ever.
You're weirdly the second person asking that today, and I'm always like, cliche as it sounds, I mean, Citizen Kane probably is my favorite movie. Really? I think it's really great, and it is the mix of like the broccoli of great art and great filmmaking, and then the fruity pebbles of just being like crazy entertaining and funny and rewatchable and dishy, like it's I just think it's a great movie. But like I'll watch, like What's Up Doc is on, I will watch it. If Josie and the Pussycats is on, I will watch it. If Gentlemen for Blondes is on, I will watch it. So I mean, I got tons.
Yeah, I think I remember I was going to an event with the Maltons. They were doing like their podcast was joining up with, I think it was Stardust or something like that. And they were doing an event at Scum and Villainy for like people from their website and from the app to like commingle and meet and whatever. And instead of name tags, you were supposed to put what your favorite movie was. And I was having such a hard time. So Leonard Maltin was like, well, we've literally been talking about The Court Jester for like 45 minutes. Like, why don't you just put that on? I'm like, because you and your wife, Alice, are the only two people that understand what that movie is. And it's supposed to be a conversation starter. And he goes, well, then tell them what it's about. And I'm like, fine, Dad.
Yeah.
And I did.
And then I tells you to do something, you do it.
Yeah, and then I spent like half the time just sitting next to Alice and like hearing stories from her because she is. If you haven't, you've met Alice? I'm assuming.
I adore Alice Maltin. She's one of my favorite people on earth.
I went over to their house one time for dinner, and because Jesse and I are friends, I absolutely like who's had a birthday. Happy birthday, Jesse! Yay. But I went over and I ended up sitting because we had dinner before we went to the event, and I was riding with them, so. Everybody's out getting ready. Alice is like, I already had my hair done. I'm fine. So she and I are sitting at the dinner table and she's telling me these stories of like when she and Leonard first met and started dating and how she first became like his manager and just like, she's the broadest broad I've ever met in real life. And I'm just like, oh, dude, no, that's not even humble. No, it's Leonard Maltin and Alice Maltin. I would die for them. They are the sweetest human beings.
Yeah, he's publishing a memoir this fall, which I'm very excited about.
Oh, I'm so excited. And like, have you seen the inside of their house?
Yes. Yes, I have. It's funny because like they do the opposite of what we've been trying to do in this apartment, which is Dave read this book called The Gentle Art of Swedish Death Cleaning.
Yes.
Which is basically about like after the age of 50 or so, the idea is that you're really kind of paring down your possessions and like making plans for like who's going to take care of your car and who's going to deal with your book collection, your album collection, or your DVDs, or your art, or whatever, and like the Maltons are just like, nope, we're keeping it all. There's memorabilia from floor to ceiling in this place.
For those that don't understand, Leonard Maltin worked for Disney for a very, very, very long time, and he has all of the memorabilia, like all of it, in his house, proudly and beautifully displayed. And so the first time I went over to their house, I literally stood in their foyer and just like silently cried as I looked around, and I was like, this is the inside of my heart. This is what my soul looks like, and it's so pretty.
And don't get me wrong, it's like it is not a hoarder house, it is a museum house. Like just everywhere you look, there's this thing that's like, oh, like it's some like Shirley Temple product from the 1930s or whatever. Like everywhere you look is something just amazing, and
it's like the original.
Which you would expect no less from these guys.
It's like the original Clay working of Dopey. The very first one that they did is like just casually sitting on a dusty bookshelf, like, and you're just like, that is the first Dopey, and like you just freak out. And they're just like the kindest human beings. I could go on and on about my love for them for days. Okay, so I'm gonna check Streamlabs real quick. I love how fast my internet is. Okay, so no Streamlabs. So we're going to close out with my favorite question from one of my all-time favorite movies, which is Almost Famous. Do you have to be happy to write a love song? Do you have to be sad to write a sad song? What is it that you love about music?
I think there's the right song can sort of bypass anything in your brain that will explain how you're feeling, and it'll just like immediately hit the nerve endings involved, so like you don't necessarily have to engage in the sort of self-analysis to really like nail down each emotion that is going through your mind at the moment, or each feeling you have about a specific subject. But like a song can just like whoop, it just become this perfect package that captures all of it, and whenever you hear that song later, it will take you back to that moment that you were feeling that exact thing.
I love that. thank you so much for coming on. This was so much fun. I'm so glad we got to do this.
Treat. Thank
And
you for having me.
100% be coming on for Christmas time because we will probably have to go through and break down all of the new movies that are coming out.
For sure. And hey, look, tomorrow, Christmas in July starts on Hallmark Movies and Mysteries. So I hope you got your DVR ready to go.
Very true. Yeah, I've got my app all set. Everything's ready to go. I've got notifications prepared. So why don't you go ahead and tell the kids where they can find you and what you're doing and all that fun stuff.
Sure. Well, you can follow me on Twitter at @Duralde, A-D as in David, U-R-A-L-D-E. And that's pretty much where I'm letting you know all the things that are going on. But I write for the website The Wrap. I do the podcast Linoleum Knife, Breakfast All Day, Maximum Film, and Mondays you can hear me on Deck the Hallmark talking about vintage non-Hallmark made-for-TV Christmas movies. And the Deck the Hallmark guys and I have collaborated on a book called I'll Be Home for Christmas Movies. Thank you very much. Which if you pre-order this weekend for Leon Day and send your receipt to hello@deckthehallmark.com, the Deck the Hallmark guys will eat a sugar cookie in your honor and name check you in a live stream they're doing Sunday night. But you can pre-order the book whenever, wherever you want. It'll be out in September. If you like Hallmark movies, if you hate Hallmark movies, or if you have somebody in your life who is a fan of them and you have no idea what to give them for Christmas, this is a book for you.
Love that. Thank you so much for coming on. And then next week, I have somebody that you guys will probably not know who he is. His name is Terry Lee Myers. And he is one of my favorite human beings. He was part of the setup crew on Warped Tour. He was part of the cast for Warped Wednesdays and Warped Roadies that was on for like 2 seasons, I think, 1 season. He is a crazy character. He leads all of the karaoke nights on all of the Sixth Man cruises. So if you do like a rock boat cruise or like the Melissa Etheridge cruise, Kiss cruise, whatever, he's the one that leads karaoke with all of these stars. So he is a character and it is crazy. We've got some fun stories to tell next week. And then also Sunday, if you are part of my Patreon, we have our Golden Day this Sunday at 4 p.m. Come hang out. We're going to just kick back and chill, check in with everybody, see how everything's going. If you have anything you want to talk about, we can talk about it. If you want to watch a movie, we can probably do that too, because what else do we have to do? It's still technically pandemic. But again, thank you so much for coming on, Alonso. All of the links for Alonso are below. And then, yeah, come hang out next week.
Thanks, Rachel. Appreciate it.
All right. Bye, guys.